What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality podcast. I am your host. I'm Caitlin Kenneth-Smith, and on today's episode, we're going to talk about the top 3 mistakes that I see people make on their health and fitness journeys. And I talk about a lot of this because I've been in the industry for over 12 years, coaching and training different types of people, in person, online, all from different types and different seasons of life. And for some reason, everybody kind of falls into the same category when it comes to the things that they struggle with. Most people generally struggle with mindset or nutrition. Generally, they can get themselves to go to the gym. But even if they go to the gym, a lot of the times people just struggle with keeping the right amount of intensity or intent behind their training instead of always focusing on doing more and not recovering enough. But the 3 things that I'm going to talk about today are a little bit different from what you might think I would aim towards. So I'm not going to focus at all on specifics with nutrition. I'm not going to focus at all with specifics on training. A lot of this is going to be mindset related, because if you have the right mindset going into something, then you're going to be able to tackle it in a much different perspective. Really, that's what it all comes down to in life. Having the right perspective towards what you're doing. That's why somebody who goes through a really hard time in their life, we all do, right? But sometimes we allow that hard, difficult time to hinder us from growth. Whereas somebody who could have gone through the exact same thing, because they have a different perspective towards it and they have a different perspective towards life, they use that hardship as an opportunity to grow their resilience muscle and become stronger, and they become more successful in life because of that thing. So that's why perspective is so powerful, and perspective and mindset and the inner work and the emotional work and the spiritual work, it all goes into you becoming the best version of yourself and you being successful on any sort of a health or a fitness journey. The biggest reason why people fail on a health or a fitness journey, I don't believe it is specifically or directly related to, oh, I just suck at tracking my food. Oh, I just like to eat too much. Oh, I just don't like to work out that much. I don't think it really has much to do with that. Because we all know what to do. We all know what's healthy, what's not healthy. And I say those things with quotes because what you define as healthy may not be what somebody else defines as healthy, and vice versa. But we all know what to do. If we don't want to be overweight, obese, we don't want to die of a chronic illness, we all know what to do, right? Eat more whole foods, move more, sleep better, manage stress, drink water. We all know what to do, but for some reason, there's a huge percentage of us who don't do it or who can't be consistent with it. And I know that you've probably been there where you're sitting there and you're asking yourself, why can't I just stick with this? Because I've had clients who, when they first come to me, that's what they keep asking themselves is I don't know what's wrong with me. I do not know why I can't stick with this. And I think that a lot of it, again, comes down to the mindset behind it. If you're not in the right mindset, if you don't have the right perspective towards the journey, then you're ultimately going to continue to self-sabotage yourself anytime you get any sort of success. And I've spoken about this on previous episodes of the podcast where I focus on limiting beliefs. And if you haven't listened to the episode that I did on limiting beliefs, I advise you go back and listen to that. Because a lot of you who are listening to this now have a limiting belief that's holding you back from becoming the person that you say you want to become, because every single time you see any sort of success, you backtrack and you go back to the person who you think you should be and who you deserve to be, when in all reality, that's just a false limiting belief that's holding you back from becoming who you want to be. But that's not what this episode of the podcast is about. Right, today I'm going to focus on the top 3 mistakes you're making on your health or fitness journey, and not just what you're doing, but how we can fix that. Because I'm not just about information and knowledge, I'm about applied information and knowledge. Knowledge isn't power. Knowledge only has the potential to be power when you apply it. Most people don't apply the knowledge that they earn. Let's be honest. So many people listen to the podcast, listen to my podcast, listen to other podcasts, absorb so much information through courses, through social media, through YouTube videos, but then they never do shit about it. They never actually apply it to their life. Andy Frisella talks about these people on his podcast, and he refers to them as success vampires, where they literally suck all of the information out of these success gurus. They take everything. They probably know quotes from all different types of people, but they don't even know how to apply it onto their own journey, or they never take the action to do so. And without action, knowledge is fucking useless. So if that's you, why don't you listen up to this podcast and not just listen to it, but actively learn, actively engage yourself in it. Take notes if you need to. But the most important thing is applying what you learned today to your journey if you see fit. So number 1 on this list, and in no particular order, majoring in the minors. And I did an entire episode of the podcast on this one topic, majoring in the minors. So let's talk about what that concept looks like when it comes to a health and fitness perspective. So the minors, we can think of them as cold plunges, red light therapy, sauna, supplements, grounding. The majors, sleep, lifting weights, protein and calories, step count, cardio. The majors are where we get 90% of the results. You can do all of these things and you would be in phenomenal shape. You would probably have great health, mental, physical, and emotional. However, the problem that I see most is that people focus too heavily on the minors and they don't focus heavily enough on the majors. Like, that's the concept. Most people are majoring in the minors. They'll do the cold plunge. They'll do the red light therapy. They'll do the saunas. They'll pay hundreds of thousands of dollars on supplements every month. But they never actually commit to tracking their nutrition, hitting their protein goal consistently, getting a good night's sleep, doing resistance training consistently, and following a good program. If you're taking all of this money and you're investing it into cold plunges and red light therapy, sauna, and supplements, you could take all of that money that you're investing into those things and invest it into a proper resistance training program. Quality, whole nutrient-dense foods that are going to help you hit your protein and calorie goal. You can invest in a coach that can help guide you along the way so that the majors become much easier and you develop the good habits that make these results that you're after sustainable. And one of the reasons why people start majoring in the minors, I feel like, is because people get distracted very easily. So the majors, sleep, lifting weights, protein, calories, step count, cardio, all of those things, they become very monotonous after a while, right? If you're pushing in those things, they don't become as monotonous, right? But I feel like a lot of people, eventually, they get bored or they just start kind of going through the motions. Maybe they don't see the results as quickly as they thought they would, which is just the reality of the journey. And they start to lose focus and they start to need something new. So they're like, ooh, well, what about this cold plunge that I saw people posting about on social media? Or, ooh, what about that red light therapy or that sauna or that new supplement? Like, what about those things? Like, that's shiny object syndrome, right? You're looking at all of these things, and while they can be extremely beneficial and they can add so much benefit and fill gaps of the majors, right? They're almost supplementing the majors, right? To make them even better. But again, not for everyone, right? Some people can't do cold plunges because they already have such high stress in their life that cold plunges just add more cortisol to the fire and make things worse. So a lot of this comes down to awareness of self, which unfortunately not a lot of people have as well. The biggest point that I'm making here is that all of the minors have benefits. They have pros and cons, right? But it doesn't matter how much of the minors you do well. Doesn't matter how consistent you are with cold plunge and sauna or your supplements or your pre-workout. Doesn't matter. If your sleep is shit, your eating is shit, your training is shit, and you're barely doing any of the majors or you're not doing those things consistently. So instead of trying to find the next big thing, why don't you focus on the things that actually work and not making things too complex or overcomplicated for self? Keep things fucking simple when it comes to this. There's just too much information out there. And I think that's the biggest issue is one, people get distracted, but two, there's too much information out there where people almost have this information overload and they focus on all of these other little things like, oh, what time should I be eating my first meal? Like, should I fast? Should I do cardio fasted? Should I do a cold plunge after my workout or before my workout? Should I do sauna at night or should I do it in the morning? Should I take creatine here or should I take it there? Like, stop focusing on that shit. There's too much information out there. Just focus on the basics. So many people out there would do unbelievable things if they just hit their fucking protein goal, lifted weights 3 to 5 times a week, and got a good night's sleep. So many people would do so many incredible things if they focus on those things, but too many people get distracted and they don't realize how simple it can actually be. If you took all of that time, energy, and focus that you're putting into looking at all the other meticulous things that you could potentially do, and you put that time, energy, and focus into hitting your protein goal consistently, lifting weights consistently, sleeping well, getting in your steps every day, you would see fucking phenomenal results, and you would be able to sustain those results, and you would be able to just live a healthier life, mentally, physically, and emotionally. So instead of majoring in the minors, what I want you to do is major in the majors. Like, Major League Baseball is better than minor league baseball. Obviously, that's a personal opinion. And you know what? I'll argue sometimes minor league baseball is pretty damn exciting, right? It drives you in. And it's really cheap. But Major League Baseball is where the pros are. It's where the best of the best are. So be in the majors. Don't fucking waste your time in the minors. Be in the majors, and then once you master the majors, then you can start to trickle into the minors and see if you want to play around with that shit. But the point that I'm making here is that if you want to see results, fumbling around in the minors is just distracting you. And focus isn't saying yes to the thing that you need to do. Focus is saying no to the things that don't serve that thing. People get lost in that. They say yes to every single thing and every single opportunity in life. When if you just focused on the goal, the one thing, the majors, you would be so much further than where you are now. Because right now you keep getting distracted. And that distraction isn't serving you in any way, shape, or form. So focus on majoring in the majors, be a major league player, not a minor league bullshit, and keep moving forward. But before I get off of this topic, I wanted to use an example. So I have a client, Sarah Schwally. She's actually been on the podcast before. And 2 weeks ago, we made the decision to, hey, we're going to focus on building muscle, going into a little bit of a calorie deficit in order to unveil or reveal all of the hard work that you've been doing over the last 2.5 years of building up your metabolism and getting your calories up close to 3,000 while maintaining your weight because of all the muscle that you've put on and the performance that you've been chasing. Let's go into a primarily strength training bodybuilding focus for the next 8 weeks and see what we can do. And she was super pumped about it. And she's 2 weeks into that. And I posted her before and after pictures on my social media story yesterday. For 2 weeks, she's seen phenomenal results already 2 weeks in. And the reason why is because she's been majoring in the majors. She literally put it in her caption that the things that she's been doing haven't been wild and crazy by any means. Like, she didn't add in any sort of fucking meditation routine or any sort of like weird shit. She didn't restrict her calories excessively or anything like that. I'll actually read that caption for you because I pulled it up right here. So she said, transformation in just 2 weeks. I made some changes to my routine and I couldn't be happier with the results. Here's what I've been up to. I switched from running and functional fitness to a focused strength building program. I do daily 45-minute walks for that extra boost in steps and mental focus. I'm staying hydrated with a gallon of water a day. And I cut 300 calories from carbs and fats to create a deficit. After each strength training session, I replenish with a high-quality post-workout shake, my go-to. The post-workout stack from First Form is delicious, peanut butter and jelly flavor. I do have to disagree because the peanut butter and jelly flavor is my least favorite post-workout flavor of all time. There is way too much grape in that shit for me. So if you're somebody who's been eyeing the new peanut butter and jelly post-workout, let me just say, when I ordered it, I thought it was strawberry, and I was very mistaken. But the point of me explaining all of this to you is to show you that, one, she didn't restrict excessively. We cut 300 calories. She's still eating 2,700 calories and dropping body fat. That's wild. And she's feeling phenomenal. She doesn't feel like shit. She's able to sustain it. She's more intentional and more intense during her bodybuilding sessions. She's not doing cardio. She's just doing walking every day. She's drinking water. She's also focusing on sleep. She didn't mention that, but she is. Nowhere in there did you see all of these wild things. Now, she did mention a supplement, but the reason why she mentioned the supplement is because she works with First Form, and that was a nice little plug to put it in there, but also it's something that she does that's helped her, and that's helped her earn results. I do the same, right? I take my post-workout shake for the past 4 years after every single resistance training workout because, one, it helps me get protein and carbs in very quickly after a workout. It's delicious, so I look forward to it during the workout. Some days it gets me more motivated to work out. But most importantly, it works for me, right? So if you're somebody who's in the market for something like that, I'll put the link down below to the post-workout stack that I use and all of my clients use because it works for us, right? It helps us get protein and carbs in very quickly. But even if she wasn't taking that supplement, she would still see results. It's nothing magical, right? People think whey protein is magic. It's not. If you start taking a whey protein shake and you start seeing results, it's probably because you were under eating protein and now you're eating enough protein, so you're seeing better results. It's one of those things. Plus, myself and Sarah, we major in the majors so we can trickle into the minors to add to our results. Now, number 2. And this one kind of goes a little bit off of number 1 because I feel like the reason why people start majoring in the minors is because of what they see on social media, right? Because think about it like this. The amount of people who cold plunge now on social media is unbelievable. And a lot of the people who do cold plunges every single day are out binge drinking at night. It's kind of comical how that works. It's like they think the cold plunging can like detract from the excessive calories that they're consuming in their alcohol. But, to each their own. Number 2 is taking everything you see on social media as truth. And I want to bring up a specific example. And there's so many specific examples I could bring up, but I feel like a lot of people could probably relate to this because you may have seen this. So Gary Brecka, he is a character on social media. And like with everybody on social media, he says some interesting things that could have some truth to them, but he also says a lot of shit that's basically him talking out of his ass. And I apologize for my language, but you know how we do things here. Lane Norton, which is one of my favorite people on social media for a plethora of reasons. One of the reasons being that he is willing to change his opinion on something if he is proven wrong, which is a huge, huge thing you should look out for if you're trying to trust somebody on social media. If they are willing to change their opinion because new research came out or they were proven wrong, then they have integrity. A lot of people, unfortunately, they tie their name to a specific diet or to a specific trend, and they die on that hill no matter what kind of research comes out, Gary Brecka being one of them. Lane Norton refers to Gary Brecka as, Gary, just make shit up and run away from accountability, Brecka. So, in this particular instance, Gary Brecka was speaking on a podcast about how blending fruit, specifically blending a banana spikes your blood sugar more than eating a banana. Now, first of all, let's talk about that. Blood sugar spike from food doesn't have anything to do with the health benefits or the unhealthy benefits of a food. Period, end of story. So it doesn't fucking matter, is the first thing. It doesn't fucking matter if the blended fruit spikes your blood sugar a little bit more than the eaten fruit. Doesn't matter. How are you going to enjoy it? Fruit isn't evil. But say that even was a thing, right? The study that he cited in the podcast shows the exact opposite of what he says. Literally the exact opposite. In this randomized human-controlled study, they measured the spike of blood sugar on eating apples and blackberries versus drinking them, but not juice, right? Just blending them in a blender, kind of like smoothie. And what they found is that there was actually a lesser impact on blood sugar in the blended fruit because blending the fruit and blending the seeds released fiber into the liquid, which slowed down the impact of blood sugar. So Gary Brecka is quoting this study saying that it says one thing when it literally says the exact opposite in the study. The problem is that most people hear somebody citing a study on social media and they don't do their own due diligence to go and search the information, right? We're busy people. We're not going to go and search a study. We should be able to trust people when they talk out of their mouth, especially if they have a fucking doctor in front of their name, right? But unfortunately, that's not the world that we live in, and we have to be a little bit more self-aware. So, taking everything that you see on social media as truth is a huge mistake that so many people are making. The amount of times that I'll get reels from clients about fear-mongering and something like that. Gary Brecka did something else where he said that there was an ingredient in Celsius energy drinks that are killing us, when in all reality, that ingredient has absolutely nothing to do with anything negative. And it's actually a natural part of the human body. So it's crazy how literally things that you hear on social media can be the exact opposite. And the reason for that is because the people who are posting on social media like this, they are chasing views, they are chasing likes, because that puts more money in their pocket. And I truly believe that they do care about people in a sense, but they just have a skewed reality towards what they're doing. Like, they think they're helping people, but they're not. They're making things so much more complicated for people, to the point where most people, they hear all of these different things on social media and they either get so afraid where they turn into an eating disorder, or they get disordered eating patterns because they're restricting themselves so much because everything is killing us and we shouldn't eat anything. Because if you literally looked on social media, you could find negative things about any food: fruit, vegetables, meat, eggs, milk, processed foods, not processed foods. There are so many bad things, apparently. Everything is killing us, according to social media. So what do you believe? Well, like I said in the beginning when I was talking about Layne Norton, if somebody's willing to adjust their opinion on something based on new research coming out or based on them being proven false, then that's somebody who you should follow. If somebody isn't talking in absolutes, if somebody isn't clearly trying to scare you and then pushing a product on you, they're probably a good person to follow. If somebody's just genuine, they share their struggles, they share their wins, that's somebody who you should follow. If somebody's turning on the camera and crying in front of the camera, I don't think that's someone you should follow. Because, let's be real, if I'm having a vulnerable moment and I'm crying, why the fuck am I going to pick up my phone and start recording myself to put on social media? That's weird to me. You can share that moment, but why share it in that sense? Because then it comes off extremely inauthentic. So when you hear something on social media, instead of taking it as this must be the way, this must be true, one, ask yourself, like, hey, how would I respond to something like this? Like, would this help me? Like, is what I'm doing right now working, or do I need to make some tweaks? Like, self-awareness and how things impact you is the most important. Number two, do your own research. I know that, like, if you Google something, yes, you're going to probably find, like, both answers, but you can dig a little bit and probably find some different things that could support one or another, and you can make an educated choice from there. So again, taking everything you see on social media as truth is a mistake that too many people are making and that we need to stop making. All right? And the final one, number 3, is comparing your journey to someone else's. Now, you may have heard comparison is the thief of joy. It's a quote that we've all heard. Now, I do believe that comparison can be used as a tool, but the problem is that most people don't use that tool correctly. They set unrealistic expectations and they don't compare themselves properly, right? You're trying to compare yourself. Like, that would be me saying, man, I suck because I'm not as good as Tia Toomey at CrossFit. When Tia Toomey's been doing CrossFit so much longer than I have and has put in so many more hours of work than I have, so there's no comparison. You can't compare your journey to somebody else's if you're 10,000 days behind the other person. That's not fair to you. I do believe that there are general guidelines that we can follow with nutrition and fitness. However, there is no one size fits all. Right? I always say, like, hey, make sure you're getting 1 gram per pound of your ideal body weight in protein. Some people don't know what their ideal body weight is. Okay, so how do we manipulate it from there? Some people have kidney issues. have pre-existing kidney conditions where they can't ingest that much protein. Some people have digestive issues where they need to have a little bit of a lower protein approach. Some people need more protein, right? Those are all general guidelines. And that's why I believe, again, it's important to have a health and a fitness coach who's, if you're really focused on getting a goal and being your best, like having a coach is the absolute best thing that you can do for yourself. I have a coach. I have multiple coaches because I truly believe in it. Because, again, everybody is different, and it's important to have somebody watching you and being subjective or objective while you can be a little bit emotional. So there's not a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to nutrition. So comparing your journey to somebody else's is stupid. If Karen did keto and Karen saw great results, so now I want to do keto, that's a pretty stupid fucking reason to do keto. Especially if you're like, oh, well, I love carbs. Well, maybe Karen didn't like carbs. Because if you like carbs, keto's a really stupid thing for you to do because it's not sustainable. You're not going to be consistent. And even if there was any sort of research or science proving that keto is more beneficial than any other calorie deficit, which there is not, then it wouldn't work because you can't be consistent with it. So you have to think of it from, okay, this is my journey. I have to compare myself to past me versus me, you versus you. And nobody else matters, right? People can be targets. You can learn from people. You can learn from their mistakes. You can learn from their wins. You can look at their habits and see what they do. And that might help guide you in the right direction. But just because something works for somebody else does not mean that it's going to work for you. That's why when I see people posting like full day of eating and they put their calories and macros, and there are people in the comments who are like, oh, I'm going to do this because I want to look like her, or I want to look like him, and I'm going to do the exact calorie and macros. Like it's not going to work for you. Like if I gave you, person listening, my calories and macro breakdown, which I will, I'll give it to you. I can't remember the calories. It's over 3,000. I'm eating 180 to 185 grams of protein a day. I'm eating 400 carbs a day, a little bit more sometimes. I'm eating 75 to 80 grams of fat every day. If you were to do that, you probably wouldn't get the same results that I do. Because I train with a lot of intent. I train for a while every day. Okay, with a lot of intensity. Not saying that you don't, but saying that this is my body and this is what responds well to my body. You have to learn what works best for your body and not compare your journey to anybody else. So I hope this episode was helpful for you guys. These top 3 mistakes, look, they're made by so many people. I've made every single one of them. Okay? And sometimes I still compare myself to other people. And sometimes I still look on social media and I'm like, no way that's true. And then I realize it's not. And sometimes I still get caught up in like all these minor things when I just need to focus on what truly matters. So no matter where you're at on your journey, you have the awareness now of these 3 things. Now make sure that you do what I said in the beginning and you apply these things where it feels right to apply it into your life and your journey. And if you need help, shoot me a message. If you need coaching, I'm taking on clients for the month of September. So please shoot me an email at thepowerhousementality@gmail.com if you're interested in coaching with the subject coaching. And if you don't want to email me, you can just shoot me a DM on Instagram at Caitlin Kenna Fitness. Send the word no BS and I'll send you some information and see if I can help you. But outside of that, guys, go out and do one thing today that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.